And they did force him to head that direction, but, you know, he doesn't look like he's too worried about it. It almost looks like he's looking back saying, come on, catch me if you can.
Welcome to Viral Twist. A biker runs from the police in a wild chase, but how he escapes will shock you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting into a complex here. If we open up a little bit, there's some apartment buildings. There appears to be some office space here and a dead end. Now, the helicopter overhead is going to be radioing in to the patrol cars in this area, and they may be able to get into a situation where they can try and figure out exactly where he's at and maybe take him into custody. Now, it looks like he's going through a courtyard right here. That's an interesting shot. Fortunately, there's nobody there. It's almost if he knows this area. I don't know why you'd pull through an area like that knowing it comes out to another street if you haven't been here before. But certainly he's slowed down quite a bit. Looks like he's looking around and maybe, just maybe, thinking about taking a run for it. He's got the steering stabilizer turned up, if you know what I'm talking about, because he doesn't want to go at those rates of speeds and hit anything that's going to make that front wheel wobble. But at this point, you know, law enforcement, I think, from following this, is just saying, hey, let's follow him from the helicopter. We can't really control what this guy does on the ground right now, and we really aren't in a position to try and stop this. I don't see that there's much that they could do to try and get in this guy's way. They're not going to be able to throw out a spike strip. That doesn't seem to be an option. CHP has called off their pursuit. It was on the freeways for a while. I believe this is going to be the West Covina area. And it's incredible, though, to watch these things accelerate, isn't it? At one moment, it looks like, bring up a real-time speed tracker. He'll be doing 35 or 40, and with an instant, he'll be up to 90 miles an hour. Now, this is a dead end right here, Philip. I want to interrupt you for a moment. Open up out of the shot. Oh, he realized it, and he turned around. That was a dead end on that street. So that's a situation where if patrol cars were behind him, they could have ended it as he went down that little surface street, and it was a cul-de-sac. There was no place else to go. So certainly we talk a little bit about him maybe being in an area that he's familiar with. This probably isn't the case here. Is he waving? I think he might be. You know, it wouldn't be the first motorcycle chase that I've covered where the motorcyclist did it on purpose and was trying to get a little attention, was waving at the police. Yeah, I think, Philip, this thing is going to continue on until the motorcycle just decides to stop. You know, there's not much that they can do, and he's putting himself at risk, as you mentioned. I mean, I have a bike. I don't ride anymore because it's so dangerous, but I used to all the time. And, boy, my son wanted to ride, and I'm like, no, you can't, because so many things happen out on the freeways when you're a motorcyclist and on the roadways you just have no control over. And even though this guy has real good control of this bike, he's able to maneuver it very well, it's extremely dangerous. Now, here we go. They have changed something here. Up ahead in this intersection, there is a patrol car. I'm not sure which agency it is, but you're going to see the motorcycle come up to this intersection, and you're going to see the patrol car right there. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they handle this. It looks like an LA County Sheriff patrol car, and they did force him to head that direction, but, you know, he doesn't look like he's too worried about it. It almost looks like he's looking back saying, come on, catch me if you can. No, I wouldn't think so. No, you know, he won't lose the helicopter, but boy, look at how close that is and how fast that is. And how close it is to the vehicles. One wrong move, I mean, and this guy could be, he could be gone. He could be in an accident and kill himself, and he could, tragically, we hope not, injure someone else. But the speeds here have been excessive, and what was really unusual is how he slowed down to let that patrol car get right on his tail, pointed back at the officer, and then just launched in this bike. But the helicopter overhead will not lose him. We don't have weather conditions. You know, sometimes it's really foggy. You might have an issue. We're not in airspace that would restrict us from flying through this. And more than likely, they'll never be able to get at a speed higher than what the helicopter can travel. Even though it might go a little faster than the helicopter can go direct, and most streets don't go just absolutely in one direction. So you can kind of cut them off. We have followed a couple of pursuits where the motorcycle was faster than us. We can go about 130 knots, 140 miles an hour, 142, 145. Somewhere in there would be our max speed. But we've never seen one that really traveled at that rate of speed for such a long time that we couldn't at least keep them in our sights. Yeah, and Philip, we did get some information that the Sheriff's Department did get the backpack. They went through it, and there was nothing identifiable inside that backpack. So as you mentioned, some of the things he was shedding could lead them to a description of, or at least lead them to the identity of the suspect, but that was not the case with the backpack. So, so far, this guy has not done anything to let authorities know who he may be. Now, this is interesting. Stopping in a gas station, talking to someone. Now, we haven't seen him on. He could actually be talking to people and heading to this location to meet someone, although it's possible. You know, they have those helmets that have, oh, but look, is he going to get into that vehicle? Oh, he's stealing the gas. Look at that. He rode up to that and just got enough so that he could drive on. It didn't look like he took much on, but those motorcycles do not. Boy, look at that. I'm sure that person was frightened, too, as they pulled up. I'm assuming they didn't know that individual. Could have. And he's waving at the sheriff's copter. Yeah, he did. You know, we've gone around in circles just south of the 210 on the lake in Colorado here on Green Street now, right in the heart of downtown Pasadena. It's unclear Pasadena PD is going to get involved. There we go. We talked about this earlier. Went into a parking structure, and that's why you want to have units behind him if you want to take him into custody, because we're into a parking structure here with a helicopter overhead. He'll be radioing for the patrol units in Pasadena to head this direction. And all we can do is keep a wide shot and see if we see the suspect come out. But I've seen several of these pursuits with motorcycles and vehicles as well, where the suspect will finally go into a parking structure and then try and make a run for it on foot. And we'll just have to see exactly how this is going to unfold. There's one. Yep. Two. There's It's possible. I mean, he may have got out and we didn't see him, nor did the sheriff's helicopter overhead. It's hard to say, but they're going to surround this parking structure now, and that's the trade-off that you have. If you're going to follow a suspect on a motorcycle driving erratically at those rates of speed with patrol cars, you risk the officers and you risk the public. But if you had them behind the motorcycle when he pulls into a parking structure, more than likely you could surround it quickly and take that individual into custody. So in my opinion, I think it's better to just let him go, especially, you know, we just heard that it's basically, at this point, just guilty of a misdemeanor. You know, if it was a big truck traveling at those rates of speeds, then I think they'd have to do something to make sure they were going to try and stop it. But at this point, if the suspect goes into this parking structure and makes a run for it, nobody gets hurt, then this ends pretty well. It'll end very well if they get him into custody, just to make sure he doesn't do something silly like this again. Go to the right. I'm not. Yeah, you know, Pasadena PD, this is their area. They'll be very familiar with the surroundings. You may not be able to get out on that side, Philip. So if you ride in, you may have to come back onto Green Street. I'm not certain about that, but I do know that, you know, the patrol cars who patrol this area are very familiar with it. They know the ingress and egress of these parking structures. That's what they do. Every day they're out on their patrol. They check these areas. So they're going to know if there's another way out. If there's not, then if he can't ride out, then basically he's only able to walk out. So they do want to surround it at this point. And we didn't see him come back out from the parking structure. So we still believe that he's inside, and the sheriff's helicopter's overhead just orbiting. It looks like they believe that he's inside. They did not see him come out either. It looks like we're hearing they're arresting somebody. Push in to the left on the street there. I believe they might be arresting someone. We did hear that. We're going to try and drift a little bit so we can get into the front, but they may have just taken the suspect into custody. There he is, I believe. That's someone. I'm not certain if it's him or not, but it could be if he got rid of his sweater.